In Honkai, you have many characters. You have the heroes, the bad guys, some anti-heroes here and there, and then you have the characters that just does whatever the hell they want. Today we're gonna talk about such character who's a scientist running away from the Honkai. Except this time, we aren't talking about someone from Earth, but Venus. In this universe, there used to be a civilization outside of Earth, like on Venus or Mars, that had long been destroyed by the Honkai. For Venus, unlike the third planet, they didn't quite get the embrace thing about the Honkai, so their plan to save themselves boils down to taking whatever's left of their civilization and take it elsewhere to be rebuilt, preferably somewhere the Honkai couldn't reach, and whatever's left was Vita. She has this power that came from her civilization's extensive research on the Sea of Quanta. It allows her to exert influence over the sea, like creating worlds, setting ground rules for worlds, and many more. And it's this power she planned to use to its full potential to achieve her goal. After she left her home behind on her spaceship that was a mech, because of course it's a mech, she finds herself right on the edge of the solar system, because apparently there's an imaginary wall or something preventing her from going any further. The reason she's looking for the furthest possible place was that if you remembered from the moon arc, each celestial object comes with its own area of bubble worlds, and the influence of the Honkai, or the cocoon, happens to get weaker the further you are from its source, Earth basically. So the idea is she goes as far away as possible from Earth, hide herself in the Sea of Quanta in that area so as to force the cocoon, or the abyss as she calls it, to basically find the needle in a haystack to get to her. This is very important because making a world in the sea costs a lot of energy that needed to be slowly gathered, so she needed to find a way to not get caught with her pants down. And once she gets strong enough from all the energy she gathered, she can become somewhat of a cocoon that rules the immediate area. And the Earth cocoon would naturally be at a disadvantage if they try to get to her, as they're so far away from their turf. In theory, that is. Because spoiler alert, Vita didn't get that far. Well, actually it became Sa since her departure from Venus cause she wanted to be extra by leaving her name and mortal coil behind, so it can be more symbolic when she gets owned. Anyways, calling this entire plan a big task would be an understatement. So she got more help by making proxies of herself, and it just happened that in an ironic twist, one of them literally looks and acts like her old self before she left it behind. And it's this proxy who will be our protagonist for today. Now, Sa didn't particularly like her abandoned self coming to haunt her, but kept her around anyway because turns out she's pretty good at her job. Little did she know at this point that this proxy would go on to orchestrate the downfall of her master in the most spectacular way. And here's how she did it. As Sa's proxies, they are given a portion of her power which, as I talked about earlier, was about influencing the Sea of Quanta. In the story, this comes in the form of omniscience, reading people's mind, altering memories, along with adjusting the laws of certain worlds in the sea, like adding a system where wishes are granted, but granted in a way that eventually leads to that world's destruction, like this one that needed a source of energy, so the rule granted it. But the thing it granted them were unstable energy that is being inserted directly into the bubble, eventually leading to its swelling and exploding as Sa backs all that juicy energy. She usually sends out a proxy to check on the process and handle any cleanup if needed. Then one day, the proxy just gains sentience like how you did at the age of 4. And with this new ability to think for herself, she started to have some funny ideas like naming herself Vita after Sa's former self. This name will be what I call our protagonist by from here on out. I think there's an event coming soon that seems to be expanding her backstory, but it's like a month away or 2. So I'm gonna keep this part short. So Vita gains sentience, and maybe because her work condition wasn't satisfactory or something, she starts plotting to overthrow her creator. The situation was that Sa, as her creator, has limitless control over what Vita does, but Sa over the years had mostly been meditating while letting her goons take care of the operation as she waits for the byproduct. This to Vita meant that she had free reign on what she could do, provided she doesn't cause too much of a ruckus. So one day, Vita was made aware of a development in one of the worlds that was targeted by Sar's wishing rule. So she goes there to check it out, and there she met Seele after being kidnapped there by Miston and Prometheus. The story is a bit long-winded, but basically, since Project Stigma failed, some stigmas were left behind as waste, so Miston and Prometheus decided to take it upon themselves to clean them up, and so that brings them to the world that was targeted by Sar's operation. Like I just said, a world getting targeted by Sar's rule meant that it's eventually gonna get destroyed, and the Stigma thing that found its way here and now calls herself the Sage knows this and wanted a replacement that can hopefully stop this, so she enlists the help of Miston to kidnap Seele here, which then alerted Vita to the shenanigans that was about to go down. As Seele and those who were unfortunate enough to get dragged along attempt to find their way back by contacting Earth, Seele would be forced to take over the Sage's role in order to do just that by contacting Kiana. Now remember, Vita was granted a degree of Sar's power, so she was able to know what they're going to do. So she decided to tell Sar about this. Look, these people's trying to contact Finality and they are already taking control of this world we've been monitoring. We need to shut it down, because there's nothing Sar fears more than the Abyss, or in this case, the person who took over the cocoon. Okay, Sar said, I'm gonna quickly smite their bridging attempt real fast, and I'm going to give you a bigger portion of my power to deal with them. And this goes on as things escalate, as Seele and her gang somehow found a way to abuse Sar's rule and make a Herrscher out of herself. Now, this is a big fucking deal. At this moment, Sar has three choices: personally intervene, retreat from this bubble universe, or to give Vita even more power to deal with them. She chose the last one, and that's exactly what Vita wanted, because she had just been given enough power to break off her connection with Sar, and now she's free. The heroes clean up their mess, contact Earth, had a nice walk around, and go back to business. Oh yeah, and both Seles are separate entities now. That's cool, I guess. For Vita, however, she still had more stuff to be done. Before we continue, we need to go back to the time when Sar recently set up shop near the edge of the solar system. During that time, there was another spaceship that appeared in the region. That was the Ark. You know, the one that Grisio boarded. And now that I see what the ship looks like, I feel like you can fit a lot more in there than a single person, but maybe that's just me. Anyways, Sar sees the ship and decided to capture and inspect it. Also keep in mind, early on Sar was a lot more active than nowadays, so she finds a reconstruction kit and Grisio on board, and so decided to test out those technologies on the physical planet in the proper world. The experiment went okay with few developments, the most important one being the act of splitting the emotions that made up Sar and have them govern themselves, which was inspired by how Grisio can see emotion and represent them with colors, as she puts it. And so, as time passed, Sar went into her shut-in phase, and Vita was mostly left alone to take care of the experiments. And now that Vita is free, she couldn't really just show up on Sar's doorstep willy-nilly, so now it's right back to waiting for an opportunity. And it came when Su, seeing what Grisio is going through, sent Fuhua to this planet, though without being able to tell her anything. Yeah, that's Su who became some kind of extra-dimensional entity after dying, so he can do this now. Anyways, Hua, who by the way got projected there, so not like physically transported, was pretty much lost, though eventually finding a way to Grisio somehow. Vita, seeing the opportunity, decided to say hello to her, which involved attacking her with her goons, so she could steal her projection and go there herself. It didn't work, so Vita goes back into hiding. Since Fuhua's arrival, the planet also started to see Honkai beast outbreaks, which the heroes had no choice but to help fight. There's also this thing that had quite a bit of history with Hua. It was swooped up and put in a display case at the planet's museum by Vita. But then one day, this thing, or Moriarty, escaped, and then started to do some typical evil stuff that Hua felt obligated to stop. He looks just like Otto, though isn't really him, just his backup body that somehow gains sentience, still just as annoying as a real one though. By then, the situation has evolved in a way that see him lead Fuhua and Grisio on a goose chase while leaving chaos everywhere he goes. But unbeknownst to Hua, his endgame wasn't about causing damage itself, but it was in order to provoke a response. From Sar specifically, cause he somehow figured out the nature of Sar and Vita just by sitting in a display case at the museum. So Vita now saw another opportunity and drags Hua into her personal space again, but this time she's not gonna attack her but ask her nicely if she can tag along. Hua reluctantly agreed and took her in. Remember the virtues of Sa that she left behind to govern themselves? Well, they have this tool they used to govern that was a system where they come together and wipe the world clean along with alerting Sa. They didn't actually know it at the time, but after being harassed by Moriarty for so long, they went through with it. Their action had the desired effect of causing a cataclysmic flood that everyone took shelter from in the Ark, as Sa was also alerted in the process. So, everyone was kinda just forced to meet her, with Moriarty being the first there as the heroes follow close behind. They're not actually allies, more like Moriarty leading them on in a way that would see them getting into a fight with Sa. So, at this moment, Moriarty transformed himself into energy and go to Sa in order to annoy her into committing to this fight. Back to the heroes, they planned their assault, and while doing that, Fuhua tried to activate her Honkai beast form, which gets her immediately smitten by Sa. Luckily, Su intervened and prevented her from getting thrown out of the planet and revealed himself to her. He also brought her extra help in the form of Miston, the one that kidnapped Seele at the start. She actually lost her physical body fighting Vita alongside Seele and the rest, but that's not something our Su cannot solve. Miston is someone whose power I still do not get till this day, so I'll just stick to talking about what she did, not how she did it. With Miston's help, she gets Hua out of this little space she's stuck in and meet with the rest. They had a quick talk over and then go to fight Sa. The fight was intense, and it gets to a point that Sa was about to lose, and she tries to run away, like a puss. But Miston blocks her exit and works to keep her very still for a particular reason. Right now, Sa's looking at Miston, mad confused right now, but she won't be for too long, as Kiana comes in with a record-breaking snipe on target, destroying Sa into pieces. A bit earlier before this, Kiana has been told to shoot at this specific spot in the universe. Next to her was a projection of Prometheus, who's been relaying information from Su as he, alongside Miston, guides Kiana bullet onto the target. It's pretty convenient because with how Su is right now, they have a zero ping communication line that spans from Earth to the edge of the solar system. And so, Sa is no more, as whatever remnant she was left with was spat on by Moriarty and absorbed by Vita. And so, this was how a little clone overthrew her creator and achieved true freedom. What she's gonna do with all this power is anyone's guess. I think I should learn all about this when I finish part 2, but I haven't played through all of it yet, and that's the end of the video. Hopefully it was entertaining. Next time I'm planning on doing a video on part 2 after I finish playing through it. So if you like this style of video, like and subscribe. Have a nice day.